An update on our storm, and first you're taking a live look down in Narragansett at some whipping winds and rough surf that's only going to get a whole lot rougher as we head through the night tonight. As we head towards 11 o'clock, our Josh Kerman will be there bringing you the latest on not only a severe wind situation, but also on a coastal flooding situation as we head towards tomorrow morning. There are coastal flood warnings up for South County and into southeast Mass, and also coastal flood advisories out towards the Cape as you get east of Buzzards Bay. Let's take a look at those winds right now. And a lot of these numbers, the overwhelming majority of these numbers, have been reported within the past hour. 43 in Westerly, 45 at Martha's Vineyard, New Bedford, 47 at TF Green. How about 53 in Nantucket? As we're heading to the top of the hour here, you're starting to see a lot of those numbers update right before our very eyes. It is almost 50 degrees already down in places like Westerly and Block Island. Most of us, though, are holding steady in the mid-40s, but those temperatures continuing to rise overnight as the heavier rain is now bearing down upon us. Those yellow and orange radar returns on our Doppler sweep indicate some torrential rain, so much ponding on the roads already. Now, we're keeping an eye on this squall line that's moving from New Jersey down to the Delmarva Peninsula right now. That's going to roll through New York City in the next hour. Over the next several hours, it'll roll through Connecticut and Long Island. And it will graze us here in southern New England by the pre-dawn hours tomorrow morning. Take a look at those white colors down there along that squall line. Those are indicating low-level jet stream winds of over 100 miles per hour in some cases. And the fear is that some of those winds could mix down to the surface level as we go through time here. And you can see, again, that really, really narrow little stripe. Even some of those yellows popping up indicating of winds over 115 miles per hour. We have to worry about that mixing down a little bit towards the surface. And so for that reason, we've ticked up the numbers here for our high wind warning to 70 miles per hour at this point. I would not be shocked to see even a few spots get over that as we head towards, again, about 4 or 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So this is a pretty dire situation in the wind department. Make sure you are charging your cell phones, any kind of batteries. Speaking of batteries, if you have a backup generator, you may want to get that oiled up and ready to go, especially if you use it to pump out water from your basement or anything else.
As we talk about fireworks safety, let's also talk about fireworks science. Here's Geoff Bansen with an explainer.
Yes, we talked about this morning. We sit there and we enjoy these year after year, but what is it that gives these vibrant colors to all the different types of fireworks? We have to go back to high school chemistry class a little bit for this. You'll remember maybe the teacher would have the flame and then he would put the different elements over it and it would burn a different color. It's the same premise here. So I'm going to step out so you can see these. Red fireworks means the element strontium, orange is calcium, yellow is sodium, green is barium, blue is copper. I think you've probably heard of a few of these elements. Purple is kind of a combination of red and blue, just like you would with paint. The two mixed together, so strontium and copper. Silver is magnesium, and white is aluminum. So now you can go out there tonight and impress your friends with a little fireworks science.
For Chief Meteorologist Geoff Bansen, one more time, take a look at that video. Your initial thoughts when you saw that, I'm sure, were like, wow, that is a great view, but also how quickly that happened. It wasn't there for very long.
No, it was a very, very quick event, John. The first thing that catches my eye, and that was incredible drone footage, a lot of those trees sheared off. Now, when you're talking about shearing, twisting, obviously that would lead you to think that it may have been a tornadic event. When you're talking about severe thunders from wind damage, when you have a downburst, microburst, straight line wind damage, that's down. You get the down in there. That is because the wind is pushing down and flattening trees in one direction. And that is what the Weather Service determined in their first stop over in Seekonk there. Again, there was 2 separate damage surveys done today. Seekonk, they determined it to be a microburst with 100-mile-per-hour winds. A lot of trees down over at the high school facing in a similar direction. So they did deem that non-tornadic. However, the Rehoboth situation, we had a lot of trees lofted into the air. The report that was called in, 10 to 12 mature trees blown around 40 feet in the air. And that only happens when the winds are coming up or sideways. You get that wind shear, that is a sign that you may have had a tornado, and they did determine that to be a low-scale EF1 tornado, winds around 90 miles per hour. It was only on the ground for around a minute and only traveled about half a mile, but they were fast-moving storms. Again, John, they were around 50 miles per hour, so it didn't need to be all that long to go a fair distance and cause a lot of damage. And notice where the arrows are going over there on your screen there, right over a large wooded area. So what that does, you have lots of trees that can get lofted into the air. We have several radar products at our disposal, but an important one in a situation like this is something called correlation coefficient, a parameter that is used to see different sizes of particles, raindrops, hailstones, snowflakes. But in this situation here, you can get a large response because of those trees and other large objects that could get lofted into the air. In this case, trees. We call this a tornado debris signature, a TDS, and it leads to something that we call a debris ball, a very defined signature that we got right there, and something that did point towards this being a tornado, and the Weather Service, again, confirming that. Well, it's one of those things that you know it exists, but why does it exist? Well, break out your calculators, boys and girls, because we are about to do some math to explain why leap year is a thing. So one trip around the sun, 365 days a year, right? Easy. Not so fast. There's an extra approximately quarter of a day that we're not accounting for here. So when you divide that up, that's about 6 hours missed every year. So over time, that adds up, though. About 24 days off over the course of a century. And that would throw our seasons out of whack. We'd be having spring, say, on February 25th. Well, we can't have that. So what do? There's our solution. We add 1 day every 4 years, and that'll account for that time, right? Almost. We have to take it a step further. Now a smaller remainder of time, about 11 minutes each year too much. That equates to 18 hours off over the course of a century. So we do a thing called leap year hopscotch. We skip a leap year if it falls on the start of a century, except for those that are divisible by the number 400. Back in the year 2000, we actually did not skip on that year. And that brings our new yearly average to approximately what we had in the beginning. It's 0.0003 days off. That equates to about 26 seconds too much each year. And at that rate, it would take 3,333 years to be off 1 day. And that's a long time, so maybe someone else's problem at that point.
January-like temperatures are heading this way. Wait, what? It's March. January-like. Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Geoff Bansen joins us live in the Weather Center. I remember what you said earlier about January-like. It stuck with me, and I don't like it.
Oh, boy, is it going to feel like it tonight, John. Now, first and foremost, before we get to all the bad news, let's talk about how pretty the sky was as that front was coming through tonight with those showers passing through. So we all know, fire in the sky, a little deep purple. Well, this is Firebird in the sky. Check out how cool this photo is. This is from Bill Burrows in North Smithfield this evening as those showers are coming through. It really does look like fire. And if you can't make it out, you can check out my mastery in Microsoft Paint here. I've kind of outlined it for you, the eyes, the beak, and all that. As we take a look at the radar right now, there's that line. It was a couple of heavy downpours in there and even some bursts of snow. The Berkshires out in western Mass, just not too far from Pittsfield, had a snow squall warning earlier. That is all quieting down. A couple of lake effect snow streamers moving through Syracuse, down into Binghamton, across upstate New York, and there's the low pulling away up into Maine right now. But the wind is settling in. We've got sustained winds 10 to 20 miles per hour out of the west-northwest right now. Gusts anywhere from 20 to 30 miles per hour, and that is making temperatures that have already fallen into the 30s feeling like the 20s, and you think this is bad. It's going to get even worse as we go through the overnight. We're waking up tomorrow, guys, to wind chills between, say, 10 and 15 degrees across the area. Saying we get to 16 here in Providence might be being optimistic out there. So you need to bundle up. Hope you didn't put away all the winter clothing just yet. And John, I think you might like this one in particular. Let's do some weather and memes. What is the meme best describing the next week of weather? I think this says it all. Mr. Homer J. Simpson right here. Lousy, smarch weather.
It is smarch.
That's it.
You're right. I like it, Geoff. And the Firebird was fantastic. Thank you. We'll see you in just a bit.